Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Lift High the Cross. I hope you guys enjoy this one. This is an episode I've been wanting to make for quite a while, um, and something that I haven't really decided to make for a while because I just really wanted to uh, put in everything I want to say. Because this podcast is going to be not really theology or politics or philosophy. It's going to be a lot of my experience from my generation and what my generation is going through with a lot of things with our daily lives or what we're expecting out what the world is going to be when we grow up and how it's starting to tune out and specifically the topic I want to talk about right now through what um, experiences that my generation is going through is dating. And so that's the main topic of this episode, and I want to keep doing episodes like this. One of the biggest reasons why I started this podcast was to talk about theology, politics, philosophy from the Lutheran view for younger people so they can look into different topics like this, issue controversy from more point of views from a Lutheran, and but more and more content that I'm making, I'm wanting to make more content that's relatable for the average guy my age or the average person my age. And so this is why I'm going to really specifically go into this topic for about 30-40 minutes. And we're going to start off with talking a little bit about my experiences with dating and experiencing what I've was kind of expecting when I started going through all of this. And so we're gonna dive in a lot of heartbreak, a lot of drama. No, I'm kidding, but yeah, I mean, a lot of things that I probably haven't really talked about besides with my dad or with my pastor, or a lot of things I'm just gonna be talking about for the first time that I'm gonna be posting on the internet. And this is going to be the first time anyone's going to hear it. Oh, and that's always such a great idea. So, yeah, we're going to um, get going right now. But first, I wanted to talk about the channel and what I'm planning on doing. I'm planning on doing 2 episodes every single week this whole year. So far, it's going great. Right now, it's 10:20. I just got back from work. It's very late. I was about to call it a night and just go wait until next Tuesday to post my next podcast, but no, I made a commitment. And I really want to make sure I pursue my goal of giving all of you guys all these episodes and keep pushing the podcast forward, help more people see it, help it grow. And I ask you, if you want to help the podcast grow even more, consider giving a monthly donation. Or if you want to do just a one-time donation on lhcpodcast.com, please do so. I really appreciate it. I'm going to set up an option to just donate just one time if you're wanting to do that. Anything will help, but of course, the biggest thing you could do for me to help the podcast grow is to subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. The easiest way for podcasts to grow right now is through video podcasts, and that's where I'm putting my video podcast on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel, give it a like, help it be spread across around the theology world on YouTube, and then also Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's where I mainly want the podcast to grow. I'm not at first. I'm not a huge fan of a video podcast. I'd much rather the podcast be mostly focused on just audio, so you don't have to look at this ugly mug. But seeing how video is the future, yeah, just wherever you guys are watching, just give me a follow, give me a 5-star review if it's either Apple, Spotify, or give me a like or subscribe on YouTube. Please do that as well. I really appreciate it. Let's keep that going. Hopefully I can get to 1,000 subscribers very soon on YouTube. We're getting to 100 followers on Spotify, 100 followers on Apple. We're starting to get there. So I'm starting to get at least 100, 150 daily listeners. And so that's fantastic. So let's keep that up. Okay. So talking a little bit about a lot of my experiences in the last probably, I'm going to botch this, probably 5 or 6 years, 5 or 6 years. And so right, going into high school, um, where that's when I was really thinking about doing something like becoming a pastor or pursuing a business, or wanting to pursue my life destiny, I guess, or whatever God had in store for me. That's what I wanted to figure out. I wanted to pursue that, and so um, during that point in my life, and so this is a little bit after COVID, for perspective, and um, so really the only thing going in my life right now is going to high school, playing football, thinking that the world's ending because Joe Biden just became president, and so man, but now I almost would take that back, or have that right now. Um, and so after thinking about things that I want to do, want to start to work on, and wanted to pursue, I that's when I really started thinking about wanting to focus on dating somebody, and I'm probably not the average person when it comes to what I had in mind when it comes to dating. I've grown up in a household where um, that values the idea of marriage, only dating for marriage, wanting to pursue family, wanting to have children. During that age of my life, and freshman, sophomore, that's something that really excited me. Wanting to be a part of that, wanting to be a part of a creation to its fullest, the ways that God has given us gifts to create life, have that special bond with someone from the opposite sex. And so that's something I really wanted to be a part of, something that really excited me going into high school. And so um, that's when I started digging after it. So uh, more and more into um, that. Obviously, my generation has a lot of problems with when it comes to dating and trying to pursue stuff, but we'll get into that. But I didn't really think about that too much because I didn't realize a lot of the drama going on that was going on currently at the time, and all the stuff that was going to get way, way worse. And because I was really just getting social media for the first time, just kind of looking at it, mostly just wasting time, not seeing the amount of garbage that's on it, and not really paying attention much to the news or anything like that. And so I'm still really at the point where I'm getting older and I'm looking more into that, but at the same time, I'm really not aware of a lot of the situations and problems that our society is dealing with right now. And so high school was very difficult because um, I didn't really find anyone to date for a long time. I was in a homeschool group and from a lot of different people and different church backgrounds, so that was hard. Didn't help that I wasn't a great looking guy. Not saying that I am a better looking guy right now, but that's when I started to feel, um, I guess, slightly depressed or unmotivated to pursue marriage or dating and things like that. But then once I got into my senior year, my freshman year in college, that's when I started to really work on that a lot more. And so that's when I actually started working up the courage to talk to girls and wanting to have those relationships and wanting to start dating. And so that's from there I started to have more experience in dating, having more experience of how to talk to women, how to pursue that. That's definitely something that my generation, for young men, definitely is something that we've really struggled on for a long time. And so, like, first year and a half of college, and so this is not a long time ago. Um, at this point, I really hungered for that unity that that God has established for marriage. And so I got to the point where I really wanted it so bad. I started to get blinded by um, all the dangers when it comes to dating, especially the problems that dating has now, and started dating girls that definitely wouldn't be the right people to pursue. Um, just and when I mean blindly, I mean just like a lot of girls that seem nice and they're smart and they're attractive and wanting to have coffee dates and stuff like that. And so, but in the realization of some of them not being Christian, some of them definitely not being Lutheran, and those dates wouldn't dating those people would not even last a couple of dates. And so that was a very tough time for me. And so um, something that I always had a tough time with pursuing women, trying to find something staple, and so that's something I really struggled on, and so that's something that I always had a tough time, and for a long time, I thought I was the only one that was um, having these problems. And so, definitely something that I would do a lot, and I think a lot of people do this too, is that when something bad is happening to you, you're always thinking that you're the only one that's experiencing it. You're the only one that's going through all these problems. But I was wrong. I was really wrong. I somewhat knew a lot of the problems that Gen Z was going through, with a lot of different major problems in our society. But after talking to a lot of my friends, that were in high school, and a lot of people that I'm meeting now, the more I talk about them with certain issues, the more um, awakened I was to a lot of the problems that young men are facing right now. And I don't want to say that it's only men that are having all the problems with finding solid relationships. That's a problem for women too. I'm just speaking from the point because I'm a man. This is my experience, and so I'm gonna know the man side of it a lot more than women. I'm gonna try my best. I don't want to try to botch it. If you're a female that's my age and you're going through the same things and you're thinking I'm being too harsh on men and or too harsh on women and how easy that's not what I'm doing. And so and that and so a lot of these issues I was realizing how big of a problem it was. All probably 90% of my friends have never had a girlfriend for probably longer than 2 or 3 months. Some of them haven't really had a solid girlfriend or um, pursued or dated someone for a small period of time. And this is the most of the people that I know. And same here. I've never had a girlfriend, and that's something that I thought that I was the only one having this trouble. But most of the young guys that I know are experiencing the same problem. And so I'm seeing a lot of people that are 40 years, 50 years old, and I see it on the internet or in person, and I'm talking to people during lunch or dinner, and um, these people that are talking about why is all of these young men, young women not dating anyone? Why is this such a big problem? Like when I was a kid, I married my wife when I was 18 years old. We bought a house after a few years later, and we've been married for 20 or 30 years. And so why is there none of that going on in my generation? Well, and the fact is that there's so many things that have been changing negatively around this time period, and it's gotten so bad that it's almost come to the point where there's barely any pursuing at all, at all. And of course, you're going to have some rare cases, which praise be to God. I see a lot of people, some people my age, that are able to make things work and have a solid relationship and then get married. But for the majority of people my age, it's not only just like not even like finding anything that's working out, but it's like they're not even trying, not even trying. And so with that, I talk about a lot of the points that a lot of older people that have been married for 20 or 30 years um, that are saying that my generation is messed up and we're lazy. It's the problem with that is that there's just so many different issues that um, older generations are not seeing what Gen Z is going through right now, and it's a really big problem. And biggest problems that I see is how why do you need to start a relationship in the first place? Why do we want that so much? It's because we're wired. I mean, men need to have a significant other. That's how God designed men. We need to have a polar opposite that's able to help us when we're being stupid, when we're um, stressed out. I mean, being a young man, let alone a grown man, when we're out in the world and we're working, we're trying to make a living, it's hard enough and it's stressful and we're always in complete pain. And to think about having someone, a gorgeous woman, comforting you, wanting to be with you, wanting to have kids with you, wanting to start a family, that that sounds like the most valuable thing you can get, something that money cannot buy. And that's definitely something that I was thinking about 3 or 4 years ago. And that's if you're a solid Christian young man and you're not looking for anything else in a relationship, that's the only thing you're looking for. That was the goal. That was the golden standard. That's what we want. But unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. And why is that? Well, for starters, it's it's everything. It's everything. You look at what women, the biggest thing that they strive for nowadays, they talk about why isn't there any good men looking for me? Why am I not being pursued by the right people? It's because you're being pursued by so many different people that you don't realize who's the good person to date and who's not. Or in that case, even if you find a good guy that you want to that'd be a solid person to date or possibly marry, you most of the time young women aren't wanting to pursue that because of feminism, because of validation. The two biggest things that I've noticed how a lot of young girls that aren't dating right now or they're not dating solid guys is the problem with what social media has taught them. First of all, feminism. Most women, if you look at the secular part of the world, obviously women are not wanting families because they're being taught that getting having babies and being married to a man, having him lead you in a family is sexist, and you should be you'd be way more happier if you got a job and worked 40, 50 hours a day, or I mean 50 hours a week and having a full-time job. You definitely would want that instead of working with a man and working together and having family. There's nothing beautiful about that. And so there's that. The feminism perspective is destroying everything. And even if you're a Christian woman and you're saying, well, I don't look into the secular side of that, so that's good. But unfortunately, even Christian women are being attacked by feminism and they don't even know it. They are in constant hunger of wanting to get um, pursuing something outside of a family or outside of marriage, and they're wanting to more of them are wanting to go to college, one of them are wanting to be more focused to work, not thinking about that. And I mean, I'm not saying that girls can't go to college or pursue anything, but the problem with that is that a lot of girls that are wanting to have families aren't going to end up wanting them for a really long time because they're being taught, hey, you're missing out on this, you could do this, or being a family is bad. And so most Christian girls are looking that way, like, I do want to have a family, but I really want to do this first. I'll wait till I'm 25 or 30, and that's when I'll think about that now, and I won't look for anything then. And so you have all this drama that's going on, and so you have girls going left and right, having a in and out relationship with different guys is going. And then you have all the younger guys right here that are my age that are really looking at this problem, and there's no girls that are wanting to start anything, which is just a shame. And and you look at it this way, you have a lot of guys um that want to have that, having a good solid relationship and wanting to pursue marriage, but they're focused on so many things that's putting them down. I mean, obviously pornography has been such a big problem with young men focusing on lust, and so when a possibly future candidate for a future wife comes along, I mean, usually those guys will blow it because they won't know how to react in a relationship. Pornography damages your brain, it damages your confidence, and you most likely will fold, and the girl's not going to want to be interested with you, and you're not going to have, I mean, even if you do get her to be interested to you, I mean, it's going to be very hard to pursue a solid relationship without thinking about really bad things. And so um and then on top of that, it's just young men right now, um guys that are my age and they're wanting to be men. They don't want to look at pornography. They don't want to be playing video games 8 hours a day anymore. They want to have solid jobs. They want to pursue a lot of the values that God calls us to be, being servants of Him, wanting to uh, be active in our church, be active in our respected work field, wanting to make money, wanting to possibly buy a house. But it's looking like that's going to be nearly impossible for us. Houses are extremely expensive. They're 10 times more expensive than it was literally 25, 30 years ago. It's so expensive to be, I mean, just go have lunch. It's too expensive, and that makes it very difficult. I was watching a little video the other day, and how they were talking about how the average coffee dates when the man is offering to buy the drink for the female, I mean, it's around $15 to $20 for that one coffee date. And then also the chances of still the woman accepting it because they're getting validation everywhere from so many guys, from people that they meet from work or for college, and the endless amount of likes and DMs they're getting on Instagram and TikTok and whatever social media platform they're on. a lot of the times the girls are never going to look for the right person, and it's always this scrambling around. You have girls that are confused because they're thinking that, oh, I'm getting all this validation. I'm gonna find this right guy, even if they're looking for the right guy, and because I'm gonna find him eventually because I'm getting all this attention on Instagram. Well, I mean, newsflash. I mean, most of the guys on that platform isn't wanting to have a solid marriage. They're looking for sex. And that's what women need to wake up from on. Most of those guys, that's the one thing they want when they're doing that. I see guys or friends of mine that say that they're looking for girls on Instagram that have Bible verses on their Instagram, and even if they're intentionally wanting to try to find someone, it's I mean such a cringy way of trying to pursue something and not trying to find somebody. But I mean that's where it's come. I mean it's too expensive to go anywhere. I mean most of the time young men are just at work, church, or at the gym. It's too expensive to go anywhere. Young women are always on social media. They're always paying attention to guys that aren't paying attention to them. And it's, I mean, it's a disaster. I mean, polar opposites. And on top of that, right now, young men are becoming way more conservative. We're wanting those values. We're wanting to serve God. We're wanting to do all this. And then women are wanting to becoming more liberal. They're wanting to be more guided by society, being validated not by God, but by the world, by social media, by the workforce, by feminism, all these different things. And so right now you have a generation that's not only in an economy where it's impossible to start something like a marriage with having a house and having kids, making it too expensive. You're having the two sexes becoming polar opposites in political and religious beliefs. It's not a surprise that most young men that are wanting to become faithful Christians, they're becoming Roman Catholic, they're becoming Eastern Orthodox, they're becoming Reformed, they're becoming Lutheran. It's because they're wanting to have more balance in their lives. They're sick of being in the evangelical state of having this being not balanced, not having a good interpretation of the Bible in these Bible churches, and so they're wanting to have something that has more solid ground. Because when a young man has more solid ground, he's able to be more feel more fulfilled, have more motivation to keep going, and even if life is throwing 100,000 rocks at them, he's going to keep going up. Whereas you have women, they're having so much tough time. Well, and just to back up a little bit, I'd say like 2020, 2021, when I was really getting to social media and how I was looking how the woke world has been torturing young males, saying that we're automatically sexist, we're automatically racist, and we should disavow ourselves and sit down like a good little boy and not be loud and disavow our masculinity, or any sign of masculinity is toxic and we should go away. I for a while I thought it's all the men that's having a tough time because we're not able to find solid wives, we're not able to find solid jobs, and it's everything's too expensive to live anywhere. So all the guys when they graduate high school, they have to live with their parents and still work a minimum wage job, and it's all a disaster. And I thought it's young men that are having it a lot worse. But I disagree now. I think it's totally the opposite now. I think young girls, specifically young Christian girls, are having a way tougher time of finding something like this because they're looking at all these different directions, thinking that college is the answer. They're thinking all these men that are giving them validation on Instagram is all good, or thinking that these boyfriends that are having for 3 or 4 months, and thinking, oh well, I mean, I've had experience with relationships before. Soon I'll find this person, so I'm going to keep going at it and pursue these all different things. I'll find the right person eventually, and it's become a disaster. And so it's just completely different from what different generations had in the past. I mean, yet obviously there's problems with any generation. No generation or no time in society was perfect by any means. I'm not saying that. But when you look at what our grandparents went through in the 50s and their 40s, in the 60s, during those decades, I mean, it seems like the dream. No social media. You have women that just had the men that they knew were in their town. And that's usually the men that they fell in love with and had families. And that's how it was for such a long time. And social media has made us look at what other people are doing, and it's making us never satisfied with anything. And on top of that, women are feeling looking at all the options they have for young men, they're DMing them. But when you have a community, small communities that are all united and from the different people, and that's the people that they're with, and they work together, they thrive, they meet each other, they get married, they have families, and then you have kids and you have healthy house Christian households. That's ideal. That's how God wants you to start families. That's how you start a healthy society, with Christian families that go to good, solid Christian churches. But that's just out of the question now, because even though it's a good thing that Christian men and Christian women my age are wanting to go to church more, I mean, in the last like few generations, where we're becoming um, like we are ahead of so many different ages of people that have gone to church. It's like triple the amount of times that Gen Z is going to church compared to Gen X or Boomers. It's crazy. And but the problem is we're looking so hard for balance from either church, from politics, from society, from relationships. It's all crumbling down. This is the period of time that has never been experienced anymore. We are the guinea pigs of something that's going on that's never happened before. And the first time that someone grew up with an iPhone that gives us so much temptation, so much stress, so much anger, so much frustration, so much emotions, that it is just completely ruining society. I do believe that the iPhone is the worst creation that was ever made. And that is social media. That, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. But the point is, because of all these issues, that's why we're having such trouble with dating. Young men are conservative. We're wanting to have these things, but it's too expensive to start anything. And so we need to be working our butts off to possibly have anything someday in our world. So dating a girl 3 or 4 times a week isn't really an option anymore. And but I mean, as if there's plenty of girls available, because all the girls are pursuing the same guy. It's either social media or if it's the one person at their school, and it's just a huge mess. Um, and I know, I mean, both sides of it are with their issues and problems, and it's not more of one or the other. I mean, it all comes down to all the problems that's been given to us going into generation. And I'm not trying to play the victim card by any means, but I'm just saying we can't be so quick to say that the reason that Gen Z is not pursuing in these different categories is because of our laziness or our struggle for validation or for our struggle for trying to pursue um, life goals. I mean, it's because we've been given a world that is constantly throwing sin at us, sin through our households, through social media, through computers, through phones, but then through our schools, our colleges, our work, churches, all are spreading these different sins and struggles for young men and women. And how do we put a stop to this? Well, for starters, I would say what I've noticed is that the solid men and women my age that are trying to find something and they're not messing around, 9 out of 10 times they've come from solid Christian backgrounds. And not just solid Christian backgrounds, solid Christian families. That's how it's always worked. I mean, 9 out of 10 times, I guarantee you that's going to be the statistic around there. If there's someone that is focusing on life, trying to find life goals, wanting to have a solid, healthy family, it's from people or kids that are coming from parents that are faithful Christians and they're in constant teaching of them. I'm so thankful for my mom and dad. They came from the background of being Baptist, non-denom, something around there, and became Lutheran right before they had my older sister and me and all my other siblings. And so they've been Lutheran for over 20 years now, but at the time they had a lot of the struggles of finding good, solid theology. And I'd say because of them finding the Lutheran Church and how the Lutheran Church, at least their doctrine, thrives on giving a balance to all the things that you should be doing, what you should be doing right, but at the same time acknowledging that because we're in a sinful world, how there's going to be struggles and things are just going to get worse and worse as time goes by. that God has given us the grace and love and forgiveness that keeps us pursuing these things. And so, whatever background of what what women's going through, or what um, men backgrounds that they're going through, men and women are still able to find clarity and comfort in finding their significant other, and they're able to go through all the struggles and battles. And that can happen with Gen Z too. I mean, I see it. I mean, I have family members, I have friends that are getting married at my age. Um, am I thinking that in 2 years that's all going to change? Probably not. I have a prediction that Gen Z is going to have a really rough time when it comes to um, building the population up of Christian families. I really think that, statistically, because of pornography, because of women hooking up in hookup culture, or um, pursuing things like OnlyFans or porn, there's more and more people, as the days go by, more and more people are addicted to different things online rather than having sex. I mean, literal sex. I'm not saying that having unwanted pregnancies is a good thing, or getting your girlfriend pregnant before you're married is a good thing. I mean, no, but at the very least, that's showing that there's people that are wanting to find that solid unity together as two people. And I'm not saying that that's the right way, because obviously the best way to have that unity is through your Christian faith and following God's law of pursuing relationships that are pursuing marriage in the long run. But I mean, that goes to show you just how much our society and how my generation has fallen in that category, because we have so many temptations and stress of finding a girl to marry, finding someone that's going to want to have kids with you, and go through this society that's extremely expensive, extremely woke, extremely terrible scenario to bring into a family in a very expensive um, economy, that you're like, well, I should just go to the gym, masturbate, and do all these different things, and I'm good to go. I mean, I don't need to worry about it. And that's a lot of guys that are thinking right now. I mean, like, why would I compete with this strong, chiseled guy that's on Instagram, and he's getting all the girls, and all these girls that are, even though they're not going to have a chance with this one guy, they're still going to try to pursue him anyway. And then I'm in the dust. So why should I even try this? I mean, I should just give up. I should just play video games for 8 hours, live with my parents, or get an apartment, and and work just enough where I can get by, and that's going to be my life for the next 40 years. And so I mean, I'm really curious and really worried about a lot of the people that I know that are going down this path. I really hope they can find meaning, and hopefully the Holy Spirit can look through them to pursue life goals and pursuing other things other than giving up, even though things are looking very dark right now. Um, and I mean, on top of that, I mean, and I want to talk about this a little bit too. I mean, how difficult it is to find the perfect woman or for the perfect man, because I mean, most girls are becoming more liberal, most men are becoming conservative. I mean, that alone is a huge problem, because if you should never get married or start a relationship with someone if your politics or your religion or your faith doesn't collide. I mean, that should always be red flags, and you should never pursue that. And then on top of that, I mean, a little bit more specifically for me, the Lutheran faith. I mean, my Lutheran faith, wouldn't give it up for anything. I mean, you could give me $10 million and say become a Calvinist. Never. I would never do that. And but that's on top of that, just thinking about trying to find a conservative girl, finding a Christian conservative girl, and then on top of that, finding a conservative Lutheran girl. That is definitely the definition of a needle in a haystack. That is going to be something very difficult for me to find. And I've found that out in the last few years. I mean, it took me long enough to realize, well, it's going to be a hard run. And so, ladies, I mean, if you're listening right now, I'm right here. I'm in smack middle of Missouri, and I'm from the LCMS Missouri Synod, and there's apparently no Missouri Synod Lutheran girls here. So, yes, PCA public announcement, but but and going back to the families, I mean, um, there's a lot of good Christian girls and Christian men, and they're getting married, and that's good. But I mean, a little bit more to the side for the Lutheran perspective. I mean, we have 1.8 million people in our synod. I think that's not true. I mean, there could be that amount of people that are attending our churches, but I can assure you that there's at least one third of that don't go to church regularly at all, and there's probably some that reject um, true Lutheran doctrine. And so you look at that. I don't know. I wouldn't have a good projection or of like exactly how many like faithful Lutherans are in the LCMS, but is way lower than 1.8 million. I do very well believe that. And looking at this, there's definitely more men that of my age that are staying Lutheran, and way more girls that are leaving that were Lutheran and now they're not. They're either left their faith or went to the next Jelly Belly Evangeli school church. And so I mean that's become a big problem. But I mean it wasn't just it was just a few years ago I saw an article talking about how like 3 out of 4 newly confirmed Lutherans, like once they hit high school, they're gone and they don't attend church anymore. And so that's how big of a problem that inside the families are screwing up young men and women that are in the Lutheran faith. And I assure you, it's because there isn't strong Lutheran households. I beg of you, if it's my destiny to not be married, fine. But I beg of you for mothers and fathers that are in the LCMS or that are confessional Lutherans, actual confessional Lutherans, if you're listening, please educate your children about Christ. Educate them about core values of confessional Lutheranism. Read them the Bible, read them the Augsburg Confession, read them the Catechism, and don't just treat it as homework. Train them as the learning, the guidance of Christ and His Word and His gifts that we get at church, and help them be overjoyed about it. And I do admit, it didn't take me until my junior year and senior year. And I mean, I have very good, faithful Lutheran parents. I mean, and even though they were very faithful and good to me, I mean, it still took me a little bit longer. But I mean, here I am, and that's not always going to be the case. It's all it takes is just this encouragement and love and help from the Holy Spirit to help these kids guide and become better. And then soon enough, hopefully the younger Lutheran kids, which even though there's not a huge amount of them, but they're there, if we can find more families that are willing to put in the work and not just say, yeah, I'm Lutheran, and not just preach the choir, educate the choir, and help us find good, solid Lutherans, we're not only going to get more butts in church, we're going to get more butts in the LCMS. We're going to have way more beautiful Lutheran women, way more amazing Lutheran men, and we're going to have way more families, and everything's going to be amazing. But until then, we have to keep pushing this. We have to keep pushing men and women in the right direction. And it's going to look a lot like a lot of us young men are going to have to be pursuing women that aren't Lutheran. And that's going to be a problem. That's not something I want to settle in. And good thing I'm really young, so I don't have to think about that right away, because I can't imagine, even though Calvinist and evangelical Christians have it so easy because they have such lazy doctrinal beliefs, they could drop something on the tip of a hat because they don't have anything written down, or their beliefs are that were made up 50 years ago. And so that's going to be a lot easier for Christians that are have terrible theology, I guess. But for us Lutherans, if we're wanting to show the world that we are the true church that is established by Christ, and we are the true evangelical Catholic Church that is giving us the true gifts that Christ has given us, and that could help provide unity for young kids to pursue marriages and adulthoods, healthy marriages, and to have more children and please God by having more kids that are made in the image by Him. Educate your kids and help pursuing this. This is going to be a long term plan, but if we get better at this, we are going to grow more and help this generation. My generation is going to go through a tough time, and there's not going to be a lot of this, a lot of 20-year-old marriage, and they're both either 18 or 19 years old. I mean, there's going to be barely of that, and in fact, there's probably mostly going to be marriages from like 25 to 30 or 35-year-olds, because there's going to be so much sin and confusion and laziness that's going on. But with a little hope, I think we can pursue this and focus on building the LCMS up, building more healthy Christian households. So thank you guys so much for listening. I definitely ranted there a lot more than I thought I would, but that's why I have a podcast, so I can rant to 5 people. But if you're wanting to help support the podcast, I'll say it again. Just go to LHC Podcast, and if you want to help with monthly donations and be producers of the podcast, that would be greatly appreciated. Or and then also I'm going to be developing a way if you want to just donate one time, that's okay too, and that would be well appreciated as well. I'll say it again: LHC Podcast com. You can go there and support. You can watch the podcast there, check out articles that I'm writing, and see a lot of the projects that I'm wanting to do. I'm wanting to travel a little bit more this upcoming year and upcoming summer and try to have some cool podcast interviews. And so, a lot of things to be excited for this new year. I will see you guys on Tuesday. God bless.